Okay, hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Richard from the Seneca team, and today we're going to look at how to use Seneca for parental engagement, but also a bit of the theory behind parental engagement and how you can effectively engage parents of your students in your school. If that's not what you're expecting, then apologies, you're not in the right place, but I hope you're all expecting that from me today. Just a few logistics of how this is going to work. Hopefully you should see my slides on the main part of the screen, then me in a little corner. If that's not the case, if someone could let me know. And what we're going to do is I'm going to run through, first of all, just a few things. I'm going to explain what we're going to talk about in a second. But if you have any questions on anything that I talk about during this session, then the way to ask questions is that you can use the chat feature in Zoom. So just click on the chat button and you'll be able to ask any questions that you want about the content, or if you want to ask questions about Seneca more generally, obviously happy to field those at the end as well. But yeah, without further ado, let's get going. And here we go. So this is what we're going to talk about in today's session. So we're going to first of all look at the link between parental engagement and pupil outcomes and talking about how that looks. And I'm going to share with you a research and development project we're doing at Seneca in collaboration with the DFE, Nesta and Impact Ed. So you can understand where we're coming from with this and how we're looking to improve what we do around parental engagement. And then we're going to talk about how we can currently help and how we can continue to help moving forward. And I'll share some useful links with you as we go as well, so you can sort of see the different things for yourself and how they might be able to benefit you. And then towards the end, what I'll do is I'll just run through a few different resources that we have available for you, ready to use with your with the parents of your students, so you can sort of see how it might work and you can start to get a bit of an idea. So there was an Education Endowment Foundation review in 2019 that looked at parental engagement and how schools can do it effectively. Now, the important thing to sort of stress about the link between parental engagement and pupil outcomes is that there's a really strong link that increased parental engagement has an increase on academic outcomes for students, and that's regardless of students' age and also of their socioeconomic status. So it's something that can have a really transformative effect within schools, and something that I think a lot of schools across the country would like to do better, but I appreciate it's a really hard thing to get to do well. And we're going to look at some of the recommendations made by the EEF in this session. So the very first suggestion that they make is that, first of all, schools should be critically reviewing how they work with parents. Now, this might seem obvious, but it's often not done particularly effectively. The research showed that it wasn't done particularly effectively on the whole. And also that there was sometimes a bit of negativity about how schools engage with parents. So the first thing they sort of suggest as an approach, or a sort of a mindset, if you like, is that schools should be optimistic about the potential of working with parents and the idea that parents can also have a positive outcome on your students. Now, unfortunately, the evidence on effective strategies is really mixed at the moment, and there's not been enough research done, which is part of the reason the DFE and Nesta are working with us on this research and development project, which I'll talk about in a moment. But schools, as I say, should start by critically reviewing what they're aiming to do, and also looking at their current approaches and making sure that you're talking to parents to make sure that they feel involved. And that you're working with them to understand what they find helpful and what they would find useful in your schools. And then a really important part of that is planning and monitoring what you do to make sure that it has a positive outcome. If you are doing things sometimes with the best intentions in the world, it won't necessarily lead to a positive outcome, and it could be a lot of wasted resource. So make sure that what you're doing is able to be tracked with data, and you can work on improving your systems based on the data. The second suggestion is that the school should be providing practical strategies to support learning at home. And this includes things like tips or support and resources, basically just things that can make activities at home more effective. So not just thinking about your sending homeworks home, but what resources can you send with that home learning to make it easy for parents to be involved. So an example the report talked about a lot was the idea of schools giving books to families to try and boost reading. Now, basically what the research said was that actually, if you're just giving books to families, that's unlikely to be effective on its own. While on the face of it, it seems like a very good thing to do, but actually without extra resources, tips and support, the book on its own is not going to do anything. So if you could then carefully selected a book and also gave advice and support on how to use it effectively, that suddenly became a much more beneficial intervention and had much better outcomes for pupils. Now, the other thing that schools do very well, and sometimes parents don't do so well, is putting in place effective routines. So schools have expertise there that they're able to share. And it's basically the EEF recommend that schools do share that information on that to try and encourage good homeworking habits for pupils where possible. Now, the one sort of caveat that the report makes around this is to be very cautious about necessarily promoting a direct sort of parent strategy. So telling parents how to administer homework, how to do this stuff, particularly when you're working with older children. I think it's really important to make sure that you aren't too prescriptive and you do give some agency to parents. The third suggestion was to make sure that you tailor your school's communications, and that's to encourage a positive dialogue of learning. Now, communications can be effective in improving the attainment and the range of other outcomes, like attendance, for example, but only if they're well designed and they're well written. So things like the example I'd give here is, even in our context, when we're working with people like you, with the teachers we work with or the students we work with, our communications have to be very well planned, and if they're not, the message doesn't get out. And it's the same for a school as well. So for examples, you're thinking about weekly texts sent from school to parents. You're thinking about short and termly letters. So think about how you can get parents to access the resources you're sending home. Now, the impacts of this might seem quite small on the face of it, but actually, given that it's a very low effort, low cost intervention that you can do, it's very straightforward to introduce. It can be a really good place to start with schools, and at the very minimum, it's a good thing to be doing, the report suggests. Now, first of all, talking about messages being well planned and how to do that, they really talk about how messages should be, to be effective, should be first of all personalized to the individual. They should be linked to learning, and they should promote positive interactions. So for example, you might want to use these to celebrate successes of pupils in schools, in your school. And also the communication should be two-way where possible. So you can use these strategies to inform parents about things, but also make sure you're getting feedback on these, on the way that you're designing these communications, so that parents can be involved in it, and and you can share with parents, and parents can share with you how they'd like to be communicated. And that's likely to basically increase the effectiveness and the value added to parents if you're able to do that. And when the research looked at this, they currently found that only about half of parents in the country felt like that they had been consulted on how school parent communication would work. So that's something really important to focus on. Now, the final suggestion was to offer a more sustained and intensive support where it's needed. And that starts by assessing needs of parents of your students, and also talking to parents about what would help them to support learning of their children. Now, the targeting for this is likely to be needed to use resources effectively and make sure that you're not widening any attainment gaps. Now, when you're communicating, it's really important to be careful to first of all avoid any stigmatizing or blaming or discouraging of parents, because obviously these are really important things to make sure you don't do. I've just had someone say that they've lost sound. Can people still hear me? I hope you can. Someone could just let me know in the chat. That would be really helpful. Great. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Where was I? Okay. So yes. Also, when you're focusing on this, you're giving more intensive support where it's needed. What you want to focus on is building parents' efficacy in this. And when you're thinking about parents, again, this links back to an earlier point of potential negativity between school and parents, but actually parents are equal partners in the child's development. And you need to remember that and keep remembering that when you're developing your strategy. So when you're thinking about the parents at the end of the day want the best for their children, and you want to encourage a consistent approach between between what's going on in school and what's going on at home. For example, you could do things like you're sharing your behavioural expectations or homework expectations with parents to try and make that seem like you are equal partners, you're all on the same side, and that's sort of a collective front, if you like, for the student. So those are basically the four suggestions that the EEF make in their review from September last year. And we have also, as I say, been working with the Department for Education and Nesta to basically think about how we can support schools to be doing these four things more effectively. So this research and development project that we have going on at the moment is a really, really exciting program for us. We're basically working with Nesta, the DFE, and Impact Ed, which I mentioned earlier, to evaluate the program, to basically work out how we can develop what we offer parents to make sure that we are fully supporting your students and also you as teachers. Now, currently what we offer parents is something that looks like this. So we offer parents a free account that they can sign up to. They can add their children to their account and they can see data that you can, or similar to what you can see on your teacher account. But we're aware that there's a lot more that could be done here and a lot more to make this communication much easier from the school side of things, because currently it's very much, it comes from the student to the teacher and student to the parent, but there's no necessarily school to parent. So we're trying to work out how to basically make sure that we can develop this with a real focus on developing it for students who are in receipt of pupil premium funding. Now, if you'd like to apply to be part of the research and development project, we can only work with 10 schools, and there is a grant available for people to be, for schools to be part of this if they want. The grant comes from the DFE, and okay, I'm hearing people are saying they've lost sound again. Can people still hear me? Okay, great. Apologies. It sounds like some people can, some people can't. Apologies for those who can't hear me. So yeah, if you'd like to be part of the research and development project, there is some criteria, as in you need to be a good or outstanding school to be part of the research. And there is, obviously, we have to work with students in receipt of free school meals. So those are basically the criteria. But if you'd like to apply, I can just, I'll post a message here and you can apply through that app to be part of that if you would like to. Apologies for those whose sound seems to be coming in and out. Yeah, apologies for that. Yeah, there's nothing I'm doing at this end, I'm afraid, but it seems to be working for some and not for others. So yes, if you'd like to apply for that, as I say, the criteria is good or outstanding school. We work with free school meal students. There is a grant available for schools to be part of this program, but we can only work with 10 schools. So obviously your application doesn't necessarily mean that you will get a place, and the deadline for applications is the 4th of November. And there will need to be SLT buy-in as well. So just bear that in mind when you're thinking about this. So next thing I want to talk to you about is the resources that are available to you. So in terms of thinking about how you as a school can engage in parental, can engage your parents, the parents of your students, sorry, we have a number of different resources that are available to you to help you with that communication process. So the 4 things I list there is that, first of all, an email and text template. What the data has shown is that is by far the most effective way that schools have engaged with pupils. So we've looked at the data on how these different things have worked, these different sort of resources have worked, and the text and email is by far the most efficient. But we've also got, if this is more applicable to your context, we've got printable cards for parents. We've got videos that we can send to videos, or that you can send to send to parents to make sure they understand how it works. And also webinars that parents can sign up to with yours truly, to basically get them to understand how it works and how they can get it all set up. So all of these resources, what I'll do is I'll just talk through each of them one by one. I'll just stop this PowerPoint for a second. So the first one is the email template, the SMS template. So this is for you to send to your parents of your students. So just literally says we're working to use Seneca to support remote learning, sign up for a free parent account, and then a link. So as simple as that, but that has been very effective in terms of getting parents on board and getting parents signed up for using Seneca with their children. The next one is an email. So an email or letter, again, depending on the context, what's most applicable to you. Again, it just explains what Seneca is. It's just a slightly longer form version that you can then send out to parents in whatever way you wish. We then have printable cards, again, which are available and ready for you to print out and send to your parents. And again, we've actually seen schools also putting this on copying this and putting it on their school website, so that parents can get straight access to Seneca if they need to as well. There's then a how-to video. I'll link you to each of these resources in a second. But we have a video here that basically explains how to get set up and how it all works. That's just in our FAQs, but again, I'll share that with you. And then we also, as I say, have this webinar that I talked about for parents to sign up to, and then they can come and learn how to get the most out of Seneca using our free parent accounts. So if you want any of those resources, I'm just posting them in the chat now. There's 5 of them there, and I'll also send them to you via email after this session as well. So all of this really links back to the points I was making earlier about making sure that we are trying to cover these 4 points and support you as a school to cover these 4 points, to make sure that actually you have the resources available, and we can do what we can to help you. But also, if you've got any feedback of how this would work better in your context, we might not fully understand exactly what's going on. So, please do feedback. What would be more useful? How would it work? Also, if you're on the School Analytics and SLT support program, your SLT will be getting data on how many parents are connecting to your students at school. So yeah, just bear that in mind as well. Your SLT lead will be able to have that data available from me, and I'm sending it weekly at the moment, although not this week because of half term, but I'll start up again next week. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you in terms of the research behind it, the link between parental engagement and pupil outcomes, the different recommendations off the back of that EEF report, but also what we're doing at Seneca to try and help you in terms of our research development project, but also providing you with resources and ideas of how to engage parents as well. So if you've got any questions on any of that, I'm just going to scroll through to see if there are any questions from people. Apologies if there's anything you missed in terms of sound that you want me to cover again, that's absolutely fine. So I'm just saying the only question I can see so far is Arlene says, where would she find the resources that I'm sharing now? So I've just put those in the chat. If you haven't seen them already, I'll just post them again now. And if you want to sign up to the, if you want to apply to be part of the research and development project we're doing with Nesta and the DFE, you can, oh, sorry, not that one, just sent the wrong one again. you can apply through this link here. Okay, so Jack says, what examples of more sustained and intensive support for parents could you recommend? So in terms of sustained and intensive support, one thing that I think would be really easy to do and implement is if you're using Seneca for student homework, what you can do is obviously if you encourage your parents to sign up for the accounts and then obviously connect to their pupils, in terms of having like a sustained, easy way for you as a teacher to communicate with parents, the system will happen automatically. You won't need to do anything. So that will be like a sustained, ongoing portal for the parents to go into and be part of the learning process. That does a few things. First of all, it makes the conversations at home about education much more simple because the parent is not completely blindsided by what's going on in school. They are able to see exactly where their child is struggling most. They're able to see where they need support, and they're part of that conversation, which they wouldn't have been part of previously. But also alongside that, if parents I mentioned giving tailored support as well, is that actually what we see sometimes is that parents actually learn alongside their child. So where the child is struggling, there is the option to also try out to use the student platform as a parent so that they can learn alongside their child as well. So that's another way that you can sort of give ongoing sustained support, but also in a very easy way. Obviously that's an example that's very close to home for us at Seneca. But yeah, I think that's one way we see it being done very well. Jason says that he can't access the email link. So what you need to do, Jason, is if you just click on that, then you should be able to just press copy, make a copy. So I'll show you what that looks like. So when you get to this page here, you just need to click make a copy, and then that will make a copy for you, and you can access that document. Okay, so Haley says, how would it work if a student has different accounts in school, different subjects, and has joined on a classroom code? So the way student accounts work, Haley, is they should all just be logged in on one account, and the student will have access to all the different classes from that one account. So even if they're in multiple classes and use it for different subjects, they'll still just have one account. Emily has a general question about Seneca integrating with LMS systems. So currently we don't offer any like formal full integration. There is you can use Seneca with Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom to share assignments and share invite links and things like that. But there's no current sort of data integration at the moment, but it's something we'd like to do in the future. So Jason says it's requesting a sign-in. So you might just need to sign into your Google account, Jason. But once you've done that, you will be able to access that letter. Are you able to show a run through of what parents see live on Seneca? Yeah. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just load that up for you. So if I just go onto the parent account, I just change my account type to parent. So what you'll see here is this is a parent account. You'll see here they've got the invitation to sign up to the webinar to make sure they understand how it all works. But also they can just connect to their child by sharing a link in the same way that you would do when you're inviting a class, a student to your class, and they can share that by WhatsApp or email as well. And they can have multiple children as well. So at the moment on this account, I've got 2 children. These are obviously made up people, but I've got 2 kids here. So if I select this one, has some learning on it. And if I can then select the different date ranges, just like you can when you're seeing data on Seneca. So say I wanted to see just the last year, for example, I'd see a big long list of courses. There you go. And you can see things like learning time, average score, sessions completed, and correct answers. And the parent will be able to see all of this data for each of their children. So that's what that looks like there, Fran. Okay, so Mrs. Riknovsky, I hope I've said your name correctly. Apologies if I haven't. So she wants to make a suggestion that you have a parent app and a student app and a teacher app. I am a teacher and a parent, and I have trouble logging onto the right account, cookies and passwords. So yeah, that's a fair point. And yes, something we would like to do. Obviously, if you've got two different accounts, you can just sign out of one and into the other. But yeah, no, that would be something you can do. But also, if what you could do as well is just have one account that's both. So at the moment, I'm in my parent account, and if I just go to settings and then change this to teacher, I'll then see my same account, but it will be my teacher account. So that's another way you could do that. Okay, Jack says, is there compatibility between Seneca and Microsoft/Google Classroom? So yes, so when you share when you create a class, one of the options is for you to integrate that with your Google Classroom or your Microsoft Teams. So yes, there is a compatibility with that. So Sheila says, can two separated parents from different households access one student account? So yes, of course, that's obviously something we've considered. You can actually have, I think it's up to 10 parents, in inverted commas. So it might be that there is a carer or someone else who's a parent who wants to have access to that data that can have access. So yes, as many as needs be. Okay, so Nadi says, I truly enjoy Seneca and have found my students to be more motivated and they love the acknowledgement of positive learning. Well, that's lovely to hear. Thank you. Sammy says, so the course overview that you have just shown for a fake child, is this the work the teacher set for the child? So is it linked for me, for instance, as a maths teacher? So the way it works, Sammy, is that the data you see on the parent account here, this is any work that's been completed on Seneca by this student here. So it could be work that you've set as a maths teacher, or did you say maths teacher? I made that up. As a teacher. It could be work that any teacher has set, or it could be work that's being completed independently by the students as well. Okay, well, that looks like the end of the questions. If there are any other questions, then please do get them in before I go. But otherwise, just want to say, oh, there's one more that's just come in. So Marwa says, is there a difference in functionality for schools with a premium account? So the difference in functionality is that the benefits of premium are obviously given to the students. So there's no difference in terms of what you as a teacher can see, but there is a difference for the students. They get access to some extra courses and premium learning tools as well. So, and the same question for parents: is there any difference between a premium parent account and a premium student account? So no. So it's what we offer to parents is the same whether you're premium. So premium is for students only. Okay, so thank you very much for all the lovely messages that are coming through, and yeah, I hope you found it useful. And if you do have any questions or any other thoughts, please do just feel free to get in touch. I'd be really pleased to hear from you. It's something that's we're developing how we do in terms of parental engagement, so we'd be really keen to hear your ideas. So if you have any questions or ideas, please do get them coming in. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining, and I hope you have a great evening. Thanks.